Hello, my lovelies. Hopefully you have all watched the Kissing Hand video or have already read The Kissing Hand by Audrey Penn. It's a great book, and I hope you guys know that the raccoon is actually our coronavirus mascot. The reason being is because a raccoon always wears a mask, right? He's got that black mask. A raccoon also very furiously always washes his hands, right? And usually keeps 6 feet distance or more apart from itself and others. So that's why the raccoon, our cute little raccoon, is actually our coronavirus role model in how we're supposed to act when we're being safe around others, especially at school. So what I thought we would do as our first real project is we would be doing a step-by-step drawing of a raccoon, and then you guys can either color it like I've done, or we can do a painting. So my second graders in brick and mortar are going to be doing the color version, and my third graders are going to be doing the painted version. So it is up to you and the materials that you have at home. Obviously it's a lot easier to do the coloring because most people have colored pencils, crayons, markers at home. But if you have paints at home, feel free. I'm going to show you guys how to do the background with a watercolor wash, which is really fun, which is what my third graders are going to be doing. So stick around for that. So the first step when creating our raccoon is obviously going to be doing the pencil drawing. So just grab a regular piece of paper and a pencil and go ahead and follow along with me. As you guys can remember, a step-by-step means that you're going to follow along with me in each step. You're not going to skip ahead. You're not going to, fall behind. So you're just going to try to just see what I'm doing and mimic that same shape or line that I am doing on my paper. So first things first, since I'm going to be using the whiteboard for this, I'm going to draw the edges of my paper so that you guys can see how big the shapes and lines are that I'm creating. So you are not drawing a box, I'm just drawing the paper. Okay, here's my paper, straight enough. So this is my paper, just how you guys all have your paper. The first thing that we're going to do to draw our raccoon, I'll have it up here so you guys can see it. Okay, is going to be his cute little head. Obviously, this is a cartoon version of a raccoon. This is not a very realistic looking raccoon, but he's pretty cute, and I think he'll make for a good coronavirus mascot. So you're going to go on your paper. It doesn't really matter, which side you start on. You're just going to give yourself a little bit of room from the top of your paper, and you're going to make a half a circle. Okay, you're just going to draw a half a circle with a little bit of space from the top of your paper. All right, don't go right up to the top of your paper. You won't have any room for his cute ears. Then you're going to connect the lines at the bottom of your half a circle. All right. Now I'm going to go just a little bit in from my edges. So just a little bit in, and I'm going to draw a little M. Okay, just like the letter M. See how mine's not perfectly even? That's okay. Guess what? Raccoons, just like us, are not perfect. If it looked perfect, it wouldn't really be an animal, right? It wouldn't be real. Okay, now you're going to create his mask. So we're going to be making these two oval type half ovals that go inward. So you're going to draw 1 and 2. Okay, I kind of have them going inward. If you mess up, that's totally fine. You have a pencil, but I would suggest just keep going since you're going to color the whole thing anyways. It's really not that big of a deal if you do mess up. So for instance, this one's a little bit smaller, so if I wanted to, I could erase it and make it a little bit more like the size of the other one. Okay. Now we're going to make our eyes, which are just going to be a black dot and another black dot at the top of those little half ovals that we made. Okay, then we're going to be making his nose, which is going to be another black dot right in the middle. And again, if you guys need me to. I'm trying to fit this into a small video, so if you need to pause me, please feel free to pause me. Don't think that we're going this fast in the classroom, because we're not. I would be waiting for all the students to go. All right, so next what we're gonna do is his cute little ears. So what we're going to do is I want you guys to find a spot at the top of the head over here. I'm going to go right here, right? And you're just going to make a kind of curved line that goes out, and another one that comes down. So I basically made almost like a triangle, but I curved it. So I went like this instead, okay? And then you're gonna do the same thing on the other side. Again, if they're not perfectly even, it's okay. Look, that's not even, it's all good. Raccoons are not perfect. We're not perfect, raccoons aren't perfect. It's all good. Okay, now we're going to make where the outsides of the ears kind of turn in. So go to the edge of your curved lines right here, and you're just going to make another curved line that goes down. You guys can see I didn't go straight down the middle. If you do, that's fine. But here's my ear, and I kind of went a little bit more to the inner edge, or I'm sorry, the outer edge. You're gonna do the same thing on the other side. Okay? And now for his body. So for his body, he's got his, I don't know if you guys have seen a picture of a real raccoon. I have it. I have a picture on the little PDF document that you click to get to this video. But a real raccoon, you can't see his neck at all. They do have necks, but you can't see them. It looks like their arms just come straight out of their head. So that's what we're gonna do here. So you're gonna go ahead and you're just gonna make one little half an oval, and then you're gonna try to mirror it on the other side, which means you're just gonna try to do the same thing on the other side. Okay? Now you're gonna go in the middle of your arm. So here's the bottom of my arm. You're gonna find the middle, and you're going to make a half a circle and connect it to the middle of the other arm. He's a very full raccoon. He's been eating all summer. Okay? Next, we're gonna make our feet. So you're just going to make a little half a circle, a little half a circle. Looks like two little buns coming out. Okay, those are his feet. And then lastly, all we need to do next is create the tail. So you're gonna come over here, and you're gonna pick somewhere around on this side of your head, and you're going to make a curved line that goes up, and then you're going to come down and stop somewhere on your foot. Okay, raccoons have big old tails, so you can make that thing large and in charge. If you would like some stripes on your tail, which raccoons do have, you're gonna make some curved lines that go on your raccoon's tail. Okay. And then you can put whatever you would like to in the background. You're going to stop here, especially if you want to do the painting version. If you would like to do the drawing version, then you're going to draw whatever you'd like to go in the background. So if you would like grass, all you have to do is kind of just start at the edge, and you're just going to make a jagged line that goes all the way across, right? Goes up and down, almost like a crazy zigzag line, right? But like I said, if you're going to be doing the painting version, you're not going to draw anything in the background. If you're doing the drawing version, you can draw whatever you want to in the background. You're just going to color your raccoon however you would like. And your raccoon does not have to be black, white, and gray. Some raccoons are brown. Some raccoons have different shades of tan in them. You can even make your raccoon an imaginary raccoon, and maybe he's pink, purple, and blue. It's up to you, okay? Remember, we get creative in art. There's no right or wrong way to color something or to make it your own. That's your job, to make it your own, okay? So next, I'm going to show you guys the watercolor technique on how to do the watercolor in the background. So stay tuned for that. If you would like to do the drawing version, what I would suggest doing is taking a black marker and outlining your beautiful drawing that you just did in pencil, so that it's nice and dark and you're able to see where your lines are when you start to color. And it really makes, outlines really help to make a drawing pop and help to see those contour lines that you worked so hard to create, okay? Like I said, every single person that does this is gonna look different, okay? This is how mine looks. And yours may look completely different than that, and that's okay, okay? Because we're all artists. So I'm going to show you now how to do the watercolor technique. So what you're going to need for the watercolor technique is you're going to need a brush, a cup of water, and a watercolor set. All right, so as you can see over here, I already kind of showed how we can do a watercolor wash. So watercolor wash or watercolor bleeding means that I'm going to saturate or soak my brush in water, then dunk it in the watercolor. So now my brush will be full of water and color, and then I'm going to lay it down on the paper. While it's still wet, I'll clean off my brush, get it soaked in water again, get a new color, and bleed it into the color that's already wet. That leads to this beautiful bleeding, color changing effect that we want in the background. As you can see, I left my raccoon just a pencil drawing. If you are coloring, then you're going to want to outline everything with a black marker. If you're painting, however, especially using watercolors, you're not going to want to do that. You're going to want to leave it a plain drawing and do the watercolor in the background first. The reason being, as you can see, the way my watercolor bled into some of my raccoon, that's okay. If I get watercolor on my drawing, it's okay because I'm going to paint this afterwards with an actual paint once my watercolor's dry. The reason that we don't outline it first is because our markers would bleed. What that means is the markers that we use, okay, are washable markers. So that means it's not permanent. When water touches it, it's going to bleed into our beautiful watercolor that we've already created. So we need to make sure we're just having a pencil there so that we can avoid that bleeding. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you guys how this technique looks. I'm going to soak my brush in water. So I'm going to get it nice and wet in the water. I'm going to pick my color. You guys can see how I kept with cool colors here, right? I kept with cool colors. That means I did greens, blues, and purples. I'm going to keep with that same color scheme as I'm adding the rest of my background in. So I have my loaded brush, it's loaded with water. Now I'm going to load it with color. I'm going to do a little bit more water, and I'm going to go in. So now my brush is nice and wet. I have a bunch of color on here and a bunch of water, and I'm going to try my best not to get it into my drawing, but if I do a little bit, that's okay. I'm going to just lay a little bit down. Okay, that's enough for me. So now I'm going to clean off my brush. I'm going to go kind of fast because I want it to still be wet, remember, because we're bleeding the colors together. And I'm going to take a green. So now I loaded my brush up again with water. Now I got my color in here, and I'm going to go straight into that wet blue. I'm going into the dry area, but I'm also bleeding in close to that blue. You see I'm going back over that blue right there in order to make my colors bleed together. Okay, awesome. I'm gonna take it a little bit further over here. Beautiful. I'm not rubbing really hard. You guys saw how I just lightly went over that, because you don't want to, if you press too hard or you rub too hard, it's gonna actually start to break up your paper. So you just wanna do a light wash, so a light covering of that color. Okay, now I'm gonna go in with a new color. I'm gonna pick purple. Again, I have a loaded, clean brush with water, and I'm gonna go ahead and add some purple down here. I went really fast, beautiful. Now again, I'm going quickly. I'm rinsing off my brush. I'm gonna get another color. I'm gonna get a blue, and I'm gonna bleed some blue into my purple right there. Okay, I'm gonna add a little bit more. Beautiful. Okay, oops, I got some in my raccoon. Again, that's fine. Okay, I'm bleeding, I'm adding. Now I don't even have any color. I just rinsed off my brush a little bit, so I just have water on my brush. And this is a way that you can make sure that these colors bleed together. It's just water on there. Now, down here, this green was already dry and I added that blue right there. So that's a really straight line. I don't have any other straight lines between two colors. So I'm gonna fix that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna clean off my brush really well in my water. I'm gonna make sure that it has a good amount of water in it. Like this will drip on my table if I shake it. Okay, then I'm going to just rub and kind of in a circle motion, just lightly add that water in there. Now, it's not a straight line anymore. Can you guys see that? It's just a little bleed right here. All I had to do was just add a little bit of water in a light rotating motion with my brush, and it's fixed. Okay, now I have a beautiful watercolor wash in my background. Now's the hardest part. Are you ready for the hardest part? It really is the hardest part. We have to wait. We have to wait for this to dry before we can do anything else with it. So you're gonna set it aside, let it dry. It'll dry in about 30 minutes. Sometimes if you added a lot of water, it might take a little bit longer to dry. That's okay, give it its time. We live in Florida, it's really wet outside. And once it's all the way dry, that means that the paper feels completely room temperature. It's not colder at all. It is room temperature, it is dry, okay? Your hand doesn't feel any more wet when you touch it. Then you can go in and you can paint your raccoon. Or you can even color your raccoon if you don't wanna risk messing up your pretty watercolor. You can color it. Okay, so that is going to be our watercolor bleed. Again, you can choose to draw it, you can choose to paint it, and then paint your raccoon after it is dry. It is up to you, but I want you guys to have so much fun with it. So once you finish painting in your raccoon, what you can do if you don't like how fuzzy the lines are, is you can go over it with a Sharpie or a regular marker, and go over your outline so that it really makes your raccoon pop against the watercolor background. So that's gonna be what I am going to do next, and you'll see the final picture on the PDF that you clicked on in order to get this video. Can't wait to see your pictures.